Well, howdy there, folks. James from politicalfriar.com coming at you again. Got the politics hat on because there was an election yesterday, and I wanted to go through a couple of the races and what they might mean as tea leaves to be read for the elections coming up next year, which are a bit bigger, as you know. So the first election that has to catch your eye when you're looking at the off-year elections was the Kentucky governor's race. Kentucky is a bright red state. Donald Trump won it by double digits. It wasn't close. Nobody really even had to campaign there from a national perspective. But from a local perspective, they have had a Democratic governor. And the Democratic governor has been pretty popular, and he won re-election handily over his Republican rival. And his Republican rival really leaned into national politics, really leaned into Trump and MAGA politics. And even in Kentucky, that just wasn't actually enough. And what this tells me is something that the polls have been telling me for a long time, and that the really hardcore Trump base, the people who feel personal loyalty to him and who will vote for him regardless, is not that big. I mean, it's millions. But when you're thinking about a proportion of the electorate, it's less than half of the Republican Party that are really in the tank for him, maybe half. You look at his national polls, he's polling 45%. Republicans are about 33% of the population. So you do the math and you come up with 16% of Americans are hardcore MAGA. That's, even in Kentucky, not enough to win by itself. And the victory for Andy Bashir is proof of that. Democrats being reasonable, because he's very reasonable, he's a moderate. I mean, he might even be right at center technically, can do fine because most of the American people aren't in the tank. And that's pretty much going to be the takeaway from all of these reports here, and I'll expand on that a little bit after we go through the some more results. But the next one to look at is again a red state that Donald Trump won handily, Ohio. Ohio had two ballot initiatives that were put on the ballot by left leaning organizations. The first one enshrined in Ohio's constitution a right to abortion. It's a little undefined as to what that means, but it certainly means that you can't make abortion completely illegal. And that won with 54-ish% of the votes. Some of the votes are still coming in, but it won, handily. It wasn't a 51-49. It was pretty clearly a majority that says Ohio wants to have legal abortion. The other one had very similar numbers, probably the same voters, roughly, I would guess. It was to make recreational marijuana use, legal in Ohio. And again, about 54-46 approved it. Says, yeah, weed's okay, can be regulated a lot like alcohol. This is red state Ohio joining its blue state neighbors in those sort of cultural issues, sort of issues that Republicans have traditionally used to wedge Democrats. And it looks like those majorities have shifted. And that's in line with national views on these issues. The national polls say that that's about right. So Ohio is really just joining the rest of the country and being a bellwether. In Virginia, we had probably the most direct good news for partisan Democrats. Glenn Youngkin, the still popular, Republican governor of Virginia, was not able to use his political skill, acumen, fundraising to actually win the election for Republicans when they elected their senators and their House of Delegates members. The Democrats managed to get majorities in both, and that's a big blow to Glenn Youngkin. He's going to have trouble governing in Virginia, and it's going to be a problem for him if he had other ambitions. See, there is a certain pipe dream out there among non Trump Republicans that Glenn Youngkin might come in and save the day as a non Trump Republican who's proved he can get elected in a blue state, and he's not gonna. He might try. Never say never in politics, but this was bad news for him. If he ends up on the national stage, expected to be the next go around. 2028, he may very well come out of the woods by then as that non-Trump MAGA savior, but I don't think he's going to try after this failure this time around. And one good piece of good news for partisan Republicans: the governorship of Missouri has stayed red. Tate Reeves beat Brandon Presley. Yes, he is related to Elvis. He's a distant cousin of Elvis, which certainly helped him in the election. But Brandon Reeves, the Republican, defeated Brandon Presley, and so the Republican partisans aren't in trouble by any stretch of the imagination. So this is a win for the left side of the aisle. But no, a lot of the left side of the aisle stuff was moderate and clear majorities that issues that they won on. It wasn't a left wing win by any stretch of the imagination. So understand that the partisan breakdown is still there. It's still pretty close if everybody has to be asked, okay, all the way down to election day, who you're going to vote for. But on a good number of issues, the Democrats have proved that they have solid majorities even in red states. And that bodes well for Biden or any Democrat who ends up running for president next year. And this is the final comment I'll make. There was a collective freakout among the mainstream media last week when a New York Times poll showed that Donald Trump was beating Joe Biden in 5 key swing states. And everybody just lost their minds. The election's a year away, guys. Lots will change. And the polling is just one poll. If you go and look at polls that have been conducted before and since, Donald Trump and Joe Biden are neck and neck in every one of them. So nobody's winning there. Maybe because they're equally unpopular. Probably. Anyway, it's just a thought. Let me know how wrong I am in the comments down below. Leave a like, hit that subscribe button. That's huge for me. I need all those subscribers. And most importantly, tell a friend. Use the share button. Anyway, I appreciate it. Thanks.